Live from Kent, this is The Late Late Show with Toby Payne Cook and Ed Finch. And you are listening live.
It's so loud, this backing music, I'm not sure you can hear me over it. But hello, we are back. And we're talking habits, and rituals, and sessions, and addictions, and things that get us through the day, the week, the month, the term, and the year.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org or join in the conversation by downloading the Podbean app and following Teachers Talk Radio. Hashtag TT Radio.
Hello, everybody. We are back. Well, I am back. Ed's not back yet, but I know he's intending to be back because there's been some WhatsApp communication in the last few minutes. So, hello, Lucy, first in the room as ever. I know you were poised and ready, according to here is the CPD Yath. But I can see that. Oh, there he is. There he is. Invite. Good evening, Ed. Oh, dramatic atmosphere.
Oh, hang on a sec. What happened there?
I said good evening, Ed, and you sort of were mysteriously quiet.
No, well, I didn't hear you say that because I hadn't turned the sound on the phone yet, you see.
Ah.
I mean, sorry about the mysteriousness, but I guess it adds something to the show. Have we got millions of people out there in radio? We've got Lucy. Hello,
yeah, Lucy. Hello, Lucy. And we've got Zara, whoever Zara may be. Good evening, Zara. Good evening, other listeners, as you join. Good evening, listen backers, when you listen back to this. If you listen back to this, if you remember who we are. It's been a while, Ed.
Yeah, how long has it been? Is it 3 weeks? Is that all it is, or is it more?
No, it's more than that because I don't know. Did we do a show?
Did we do one in the holidays? Did we?
Did we do one in my first week of the holiday before you broke up? I can't remember.
Maybe.
We didn't.
I don't know. Anyway, we're here now. That's what counts.
We definitely didn't do one in your 2 weeks, and we definitely didn't do one last week. So it's been 4 weeks since the last show, possibly 5.
Well, that's too long. I mean, we can't leave our audience hanging that long, can we? I mean, they must have been bereft without us. What will they have been doing?
Those who are addicted to listening to us might be suffering withdrawal symptoms. Did you see what I did there?
I did see that. It was seamless. Very impressed.
But anyway, first of all,
we're going to talk about addictions and rituals and compulsive behaviour in general.
Yes, indeed. But first of all, though, how are you? Are you okay?
I'm all right. Yeah. Thank you very much for asking with such clear, tender concern in your voice. I am all right. It's a hard life we live, though, isn't it? Isn't it a hard life we live?
Yes, it can be. It doesn't feel hard to me at the moment, but I suspect it may do when I start my new full-time, including Saturday's job in September. But it's going to be new, so it should be exciting. But yeah,
Yeah, we don't mind, do we? We don't mind a challenge. We do. What's it? Our friend Mary Myatt says, high challenge, low threat. We like to be challenged. We like to do a difficult puzzle. We like to have something to do, but we don't like to be threatened. So,
correct.
Hopefully that's how it'll be for you with your new job. You'll be like challenged, going, "Oh my goodness, this is hard."
Yeah.
But knowing that
knowing I've got a nice boss, hopefully in a nice, well-managed school. Which is well funded because it's in the independent sector. So,
set up to succeed.
Exactly.
Not set up to fail. That's what we want in it.
Yeah. Can people hear Ed okay? Because I don't. Can people hear me okay? Good evening, Maxim. Because you're drifting in and out a bit.
Yes, it's because I've got it with phone in it. Do you remember I used to put my headphones in and then they went cronk? So now it's just my telephone on my lap.
Oh, I see.
That's all it is. That's all it is. I mean, people out there in Radioland probably imagine that we're in like some studio with a red light that goes on when we start recording. They probably imagine that. And like, swivel chairs and microphones on booms and things. That's probably what they're
Microphones
imagining.
on booms, and we've got a posse. We've got a posse making us tea all the time and stuff like that, or bringing us gin.
Love a posse. Didn't Steve Wright? He had a posse, didn't he?
Steve Wright had a posse. I can't remember any of their names, but they all had. Yes, Steve Wright had a posse. He's finished now, hasn't he? I think he's sort of separated from the BBC in slightly.
They all have, haven't they? They all have. They didn't want to retire, and in the end, someone had to say, "Guys, listen, the world's moved on." Ken Bruce, he's gone, isn't he? Ken
That's
Bruce.
right. Ken Bruce must have been about 168.
Do you know what? It turns out he wasn't as old as you think, Ken Bruce. I looked it up and I was like, oh, he's not even that much older than me. He's just been doing it since I was dithering about.
Since he was 4.
Pop master at the age of 4. Yeah, not as old as you think, Kenny Bruce. But what they do is they immediately go and do exactly the same show on some other thing. So Ken Bruce has taken Pop Master with him, and he's doing it on some other channel that we haven't heard of. But he's
Teachers Talk Radio.
Maybe could be. Quite a catch, wouldn't we? Ken Bruce, he might challenge us for most downloaded show of the month. He might get the £6.
Oh yeah, I owe you some money actually, don't I? We'll have to meet up in the summer and go and have a lovely curry in Crediton.
No such thing. Don't listen to it, people. If you're curry fans, I don't know if there's anywhere in the southwest. Honestly, I don't. I think the last curry worth eating is at Boomy Kitchen in Cheltenham. If you're on your way down,
there must be some good ones in Bristol.
Yeah, I don't think anywhere past Bristol. I think the last good curry must be in Bristol. Can we have anybody out there in Radioland who knows of a good curry anywhere in the southwest? From which I don't really include. I know people do, but I don't really include Bristol in the southwest. I think when you come past Bristol. You come past Portishead, don't you? And then there's a bit where the motorway splits into two, and one.
Oh, I love that bit. We've spoken about that before. I love it. You feel if you're driving west, you feel like you're taking off. If you're on the outside lane,
that to me, that's the gateway. That is the gateway to the southwest. In the same way that they cut through the Ridgeway when you come through the Chilterns on the M40, that's the gateway to Oxfordshire. You come through. Yes. There's a sign that says "Welcome to Oxfordshire" on the wrong side. You're like, well, you're not in Oxfordshire. And then you come through that beautiful cutting, and you can see the bedding planes, can't you, of the flints and the cork, and you can see that, and you come around a corner. Well, back in the day, you could gaze off to your left, and you could see the wonders of Didcot Power Station there. Yeah. In the distance, like some sort of medieval castle, like almost like the castle in Disneyland, and they've knocked half of it down, which I think is cultural vandalism of the highest order. Now you can just see Whitnam bloody clumps, don't you? But anyway,
you're always talking about your Whitnam clumps or whatever they're called.
I'm always talking about Whitnam. I don't believe I've mentioned Whitnam clumps on this program
every time. I see you,
Lucy. Have I mentioned Whitnam clumps on this program before?
So yes, Lucy.
Master, curriculum master, Maxim's on. We should do a teacher version of Popmaster. You got 10 seconds to mention 5 outmoded pedagogical fashions. Go for it. Well, there was VAC, and there was Brain Gym, and there was Knowledge Organisers. Oh no, that one's still good. Give it a year.
It's going. They're being killed slowly, I think, aren't they?
I think they've really gone. Put a fork in it. It's done.
There, he's back.
I didn't go anywhere. I was here.
Your microphone's in.
Lucy says that I mentioned Whitnam clumps once. Come on, once.
You did when we were talking about walks. When we did a show on walks, you mentioned it then.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. I mean, it's quite a good walk, isn't it? It's one of those walks that's quite good because it's not too long. You can park in a car park, up to the top, round it, back down the bottom. Doesn't take you very long. Go to a pub.
Last time I saw you, we went for a walk, didn't we? We went for a nice walk around Heartland Point, weren't we? Yeah,
we did. It's almost like a little ritual with us, isn't it? To go for a walk.
It is a ritual to walk on that coast as well.
We could try it. We once went for a walk up by. Where did we go? We went for a walk up, parked up at Salton, and walked up sort of towards Blackator. I think it's.
Yes, we did. That was our first walk.
It was. But since then, we've confined our walks almost entirely to the northern coast of Devon, and
we have.
They're good walks.
Yeah, and we're swimming next time. Anyway, let's the reason you said something that reminded me just now. I'm talking about the Chilterns, the cut through the chalk of the Chilterns there.
Yes, yes.
And you talked about bedding planes or something.
Did talk about bedding planes. Well done.
And that reminded me, I was listening for a change, Ed, and that reminded me of coastal geology, and I had to send to my new school a little paragraph about myself, which will be sent on to my tutor group, next year. So, and said, just send a paragraph about, introducing yourself. And I said I'm interested in. I'm interested in farming and the countryside, coastal geology, walking, and swimming. There you go. So, and he then replied. I also said I liked live music, particularly noisy guitars, wild jazz, and plaintive folk sometimes from all those different things. And he replied saying we are going to have much to talk about over coffee in the staff room next year. So I'm excited about that. There we go.
Okay. He's going to know stuff, though, isn't he? I hear you're interested in coastal geology. Tell me, what do you think of the Variscan orogeny at Millock? And you'll be like, I just like the rocks. I don't know. I just like looking. I take pictures on my phone. It's nice. Don't expect me to know stuff.
Yes, true. Good point. Well made.
Knowledge is overrated. It's on its way out. We already said that. Knowledge is on the way out, people. And instead, there'll be mild interest. There'll be whole curriculum built around mild interest.
We should talk about. We must be due a chat on that because I've been having a lot of I'm not really chatting on the Twitter at the moment, as you know. I'm not really, except unless it's about the Bug Club. More on that later. I am not really writing blogs about education. I'm not really talking in public about education at the moment, but I have had a couple of conversations with people.
Count as public, though, does it?
No.
No, people don't have to be involved. Anyway, carry on.
I haven't. But I have had a couple of conversations with people, including Year 8 students, actually, because they've got to do a talk on something, and one of them's going to do a talk, like a leaving sort of, like a mini EPQ kind of presentation thing, and so they are. And one of them wants to do a talk on something to do with artificial intelligence and in education, and is our current school model out of date. But I think that is ripe for another conversation because over the last 2 or 3 years, as far as I can tell on Twitter, people dig their heels in about this stuff. And the knowledge-rich curriculum and the knowledge and exams and memorizing stuff is really, really important for humans, but it's very evident that computers are much more effective at memorizing stuff without emoting it, and yet our uniqueness is about emoting things and analyzing things and critically evaluating them. And yes, if you have nothing stored in your head, it's very difficult to critically evaluate. I buy that argument, but it might be we need to have that conversation again, because it just strikes me that we are putting our heads in the sand as an education profession about this, probably because we're worried about our jobs, but the jobs are, and so I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Well, I think, I feel fashions are about to change. They've changed a couple of times since I started being a teacher, and we should be getting better.
New Labour government coming in 2 years, hopefully. But whether they're going to fix it, I don't know. They've got other things, bigger things to fix.
I think it's changing before then, though, because I think the toxic mutations of the knowledge thing are becoming more and more clear. So I think within these 2 years we're going to see a switcheroo, and then I think that will be rarefied, shall we say, by some new incumbent who will be listening. Do you remember? I mean, I know you weren't sort of twittering then. I'm kind of embarrassed that I was, but there was this time when the DFE was really engaging with bloggers, and they were flattered, So, somebody would say, "Oh, we're going to have a panel at the DFE, and we're going to invite the great and the good," and the great and good would be the last 5 people to write something, And I remember Miss Smith, Jane Manzoni.
Yeah, she wrote a lot, didn't she? Back then, it was before my time. Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote a lot then, and yeah, she was one of the people who got invited. It's like, oh, she got invited along, and she blotted her copybook by saying what she really thought, which I was rather impressed with at the time. She didn't get asked back, whereas some people got asked back more and more, and they liked it. They found it flattering, and they didn't wear a badge that said "useful idiot," but they might as well have done. You know, because of course I'd been flattered. I'd be flattered if they say, "Oh, we'd love to hear your views, Ed Finch. You are, you've got 24,000 people on Twitter think you're marvelous. Most of them are bots or made an account on a ITT session and never looked at it again. But it doesn't matter. There's 24,000 of the buggers. You must have something to say. Come along." I'd go along. I'd probably get my picture taken with a junior minister, put that on the Twitter. I'd feel terribly, terribly good, wouldn't I? So I'm there's probably a degree of sour grapes involved that I wasn't one of the chosen few, but the chosen few, when you look at it, I wonder this is what we want them to say. Let's find out who's saying it. They're saying it. Invite them along. Maybe if we invite them along, they'll say it more, and then we can say that they're a very influential blogger and mention them on the floor of the house until they explode with pride. In the meantime, we'll just get along with doing what we want to do because, there's enough views out there. We can find someone who agrees with any idiocy.
Yes, absolutely.
Happy days. The question is, they're just looking for the idiots who agree. There you go. We'll have him in. We'll say he's a very important person. He'll like it.
I can't think who you might be thinking about. Anyway,
I'm thinking of loads, mate. Loads.
You are. You know more of them than I do as well. So, but should we talk a bit about our habits, rituals, obsessions, addictions, things that kind of bring our day-to-day life meaning, and they might be passing obsessions, and yeah. Do you want to go first, Ed?
Start off with a low bar. Every morning I have to do this, otherwise I feel very, very uncomfortable with my life, and it's very hard to rectify. I have to sit in my new book. I mean, things can change. The last time we had a little holiday, Easter holiday, I think it was called, I built a breakfast bar. Oh. You laugh. Next time you see my house, mate, you'll come in. You're going to go, oh my goodness, he's got a breakfast bar. I found a bit of my son's old bunk bed from when he was little. Haven't thrown that bit of timber away. It's been with me through 2 house moves. I've still got the timber. And I found a bit of that, and I said, I know what I can do with this. Got a couple of legs from B&Q. Breakfast bar. Yeah. It looks terrible, but I sit at it in the morning and I feel very pleased with myself sitting in my breakfast bar.
I'm trying to picture, where is your breakfast bar?
My kitchen?
I'm aware of the kitchen.
You've normally come in and out of my house through the front, haven't you? You're one of the very
I come through the front door. You have to go and get a key from some sort of secret safe somewhere to unlock it and let me in.
Because we normally come go through the back because that's where the car is, you see.
Well,
to get through the front, it's like quite dangerous. There's this sort of ankle breaking walking the plank act.
There's the beam. It's like a gymnastic beam that you have to approach to get to the front door of your house.
School, and you had to walk along bench, and you could do that. You got to a point where you could even turn around in the middle and feel very close. And then the next lesson, your teacher turned it upside down, so it was the narrow bit. Yeah. Suddenly, oh my goodness, it got very exciting. Well, that's kind of what it's like walking to the front of my house. So we come and go through the back. But you know my kitchen, so if you know my kitchen, you've walked in from the front, so you're walking into the kitchen from the living room. On the left-hand side, there's a long counter, isn't there? And that's also got a built-in hob and the sink down at the bottom. Yeah. Imagine opposite the sink, what you used to have there was a bag full of plastic bags, a bin, the laundry basket overflowing, a big pile of shoes, paint, all that sort of thing. That's gone now. It's gone. What you got now is a beautiful pine breakfast bar. And what I do is I sit there in the morning, and it's light in the morning now. How good is that when it's even light when I get out of bed? I love it. I sit down there. Now, I have to have a cup of tea. I have to have 2 slices of toast. There was no bread in the house this morning. I had crumpets. Crumpets are good. I love crumpets. Weekend crumpets. I felt all wrong this morning. Dear. I have to do the Unlockle puzzle. Which is like, I don't know if you've done the Unlockle, but it's like working out a phone unlock screen with a limited number of guesses. And I have to do the Wordle. I didn't do the word. I mean, I'm so tired at the moment. I'm so tired. I didn't get the Wordle. And for people who do the Wordle, they know what the word is this morning. And they're like, how did you not get that? Well, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And I was shocked with myself. But just this last few days, due to my friend Serdar, who's the CEO of Lifter, he's now started me on Wordiply, and so
Right.
I'm now getting to the point. I'm now getting to the point where I can't leave the house till I've done Unlockable and the Wordle and Wordiply. I then get in the car and I drive to work, which takes me 34 minutes. And on the way to work, I have to drink a bottle of water. I have to do
Right.
it. If I don't drink a bottle of water on the way to work, the day's going to go wrong. I mean, day
You
goes
have to
wrong
throw
anyway.
salt over your shoulder and stuff like that as well, Ed.
No. I was getting, I don't know if I was getting dehydrated, but I thought I was going to do something for my health. And I could
You're
have done
rude about water.
exercise.
You definitely don't drink enough water. I mean, I don't want to get all hydration on you because I know it annoys you greatly. But we might go for a 3 or 4 mile walk, which involves some clambering.
We might go for a 3 or 4 hour walk, which involves clambering, and I'm not going to drink water. I'm not into it.
And you're not gonna take water and keep drinking the water. You say no, water's for wimps, even if it's a warm, sunny day and you're sweating through
I
your
just don't.
beard.
Not into it, but every day. I've been doing this for over a year now, and I think it's been very good for my health. I think it has. So I drink it. But if I don't drink a bottle of water, I'll be like driving away from the house and driving down the road, and I suddenly think, oh no, I haven't got a bottle of water. I'll either go back to the house and get one, or I'll stop at the garage and buy some ridiculously overpriced bottle of water when I could have just had a bottle of water I filled up in the house. Honestly, it's one of the things that you go, what is this? What it's like? It is like ritualised behaviour.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not superstitious or anything. I just feel a bit wrong if I don't do it, and then I'm like, I don't like feeling a bit wrong, so I have to. I won't. I don't know. I haven't looked at the quote. Are people saying that this man's dangerously insane and should see?
No, they're not saying it because they already know it. Maxim did ask us a few minutes ago now, are either of us AI? I think I'd like to think that Ed and I are probably the least AI-esque humans I kind of know, but people could make a case for me being AI. I think my overexcitement at a great many things suggests that I'm not. But there we go. I may be wrong.
I've met you in real life. I don't know. I mean, we wouldn't know, would we? We could be radio deepfakes.
Radio deepfakes.
Yeah. Ritualised behaviour. So, I'll tell you what.
My morning, Rich. Keep going. I'll talk about me after the news. You do you. You do you.
Oh, there's lots of things you don't know you do that you suddenly realise you always do. And I facetiously, the night before we're going back to school, I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to stay up until some absurdly late time, like I'm holding on to the holiday.
Yeah.
You go, I don't want to go by the way. It's partly because you're not going to sleep very well once you do get into bed because you're going to have a bit of back to school anxiety, which I think probably we all have. But there's all this hanging on to the holiday thing. And I'm going to stay up too late and make the most of it. Or I'm going to have a beer and stuff. I often catch myself on thinking, but you'll be happier in the morning if you've had a sleep and not, haven't got a fuzzy head. Nah, you got to do it.
Yeah, I think going to bed. I think we should do the rituals and habits before the news, and then we could do the sort of obsessions, interests, hobbies, and things that make us feel.
Go on, tell us your morning routine, and have you got some sort of a whole bunch of stuff you have?
Well, no, I'm not as much as you, I think, actually, but I think I do. I mean, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning now is pop my pill. So that's important. So my mother's little helper, or whatever you want. Mother's little helper was Valium. It's not Valium, everybody. It's
Millhouse.
Sorry.
No, Millhouse or Milltown. The one that came before Valium. I read forgive me. I listened to a very interesting podcast on it. Never mind. Carry on. So first, you pop your little pill.
So pop my pill. If you mentioned water, if I always have a glass of water beside my bed. That is a ritual. I have to have a glass of water. It has to be a full glass of water before I go to bed. If I drink any of it when I get, when I sort of fill it up before getting into bed, I will have to refill it. So I have to have a full glass of water before I go to bed. I very rarely drink any of it in the night, and so I drink that in its entirety in the morning as well. So that's my a bit like you in the car. I drink a lot of water first thing in the morning.
I don't like a glass of water that's been next to the bed. I imagine it has bed fluff in it. I'll have a fresh one, please.
Oh, it's all right. It's if it's been there all day, not so good. It goes a bit sort of stagnant tasting, doesn't it? But if it's only been there for sort of 7 or 8 hours, or maybe even only 6 hours in some cases,
spiders in it. Oh, I didn't like it.
Flies have peed in it. What?
Flies and
What?
spiders, they've been peeing it.
Spiders?
Spiders, they come over. You can see them. You know how
Come
dogs lift
over
one leg,
and
spiders
piss
have
in
to
your
lift
bedside
two.
water.
Oh, I once woke up in the middle of the night, Toby. I don't know if I told this story. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was this rustling. There was this rustling on my bedside table. I reached
Oh,
out, found the switch of the bedside light. We found out, got it with my little trembling fingers.
an
clicked on.
Algernon. A giant Algernon, as my mother used to call them.
Well, this one was a full-sized rat, size of a dachshund. Oh my word! Face to face with a bugger on my bedside table. I didn't like that.
No, I
didn't
wouldn't like
at
that.
all. I had
No.
to hunt him down and kill him. But that's a story for another day. Glass of water.
Glass of water. So then, but then when I have to. The first thing I do, pretty much, once I'm downstairs, is have a coffee. Make a coffee, and it's generally now that it's generally an espresso coffee. If it's not an espresso coffee, it's a posh instant one. You know, one of those Nescafe Azeras or something like that. And I drink too much coffee. If it's not a work day, within half an hour of the first coffee, I will have a second one. And then the coffee ritual becomes an all day long ritual until about 3 p.m. So going into the staff room, if I just go into the staff room at break time, or I go in there I have a few free lessons because the way we get timetables a bit differently. And so if I go into the staff room or to go into photocopy or something like that as well, I will generally make a coffee. I don't need a coffee. I don't even really want a coffee, but the act of making coffee is definitely, that's just instant coffee that I make in staff room is quite a ritual. And I think I get quite dehydrated through the day, and I get quite wired through the day, and I'm wired enough as it is by drinking too much coffee. Is someone shouting "Dad" at me? They might be. It's all right. Huh? Did you shout to me?
What?
Hello, sorry, no, it's all right. Okay. And so I thought I heard it.
Makes great radio. This is like they got the one with the guy.
There was posse. One of my posse was shouting at me through the glass window. And so coffee is an addiction. I am addicted to coffee. Yeah. If I'm on holiday at home, I will probably have 3, definitely, maybe 4 Nespresso pods a day. If I'm at work, I will probably have 3 instant coffee cups a day with an espresso in the morning. But I always, another ritual on the hot drinks is around tea time. Like not high tea, just old fashioned tea time. So somewhere anytime between sort of 3:30 and 5:30, I would say, I will have a cup of tea, and that's the only cup of tea I have in a day. I'm a coffee man, really, but I don't drink coffee after that hour unless it's after a lot of booze. I might have a cup of coffee if I've drunk a lot of booze, because you kind of need the stimulant to antidote to the depressant.
So I was in Germany one time. I think it was Germany. I was in Germany one time, and the Germans were good-naturedly taking the mick out of the Brits, saying we drank a lot of tea and we were obsessed with tea. And I said, well, no, I don't even think I drink that much tea. I just think it's completely overblown, this British obsession with tea. They said, how much tea do you drink? I said, I don't think I drink much. I said, I'll have a cup of tea when I get up in the morning, and then I go to work. So when I get to work, I have a cup of tea, and then I do 2 lessons, and then it's a break. So if I've got time, I'll run up to the staff room and I'll have a cup of tea. And then I've got my third period. It's lunchtime, so I have a cup of tea. Finish at the end of the day, 3:30, cup of tea, go home. I was suddenly, as I was saying, I was like, oh my goodness.
God, exactly.
I never realised that I'm getting through 7 or 8 a day. No wonder I don't sleep.
But I don't think it's the tea or the coffee, really. I mean, caffeine's pretty addictive, so I would if I stopped drinking coffee tomorrow and tea tomorrow, I would probably have a bit of cold turkey, but not desperately. I don't think. I think I'd find something else. But
it's a strange thing. Maybe go for a herbal tea. You don't have to go carry on.
But I think I would. I think it's the act of making it. It's just it's just a work thing that I do. It's just something that I it's almost, I don't know. It's weird. I think it's just more ritual than addiction, actually.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so. I was just going to point out Lucy's comment. She says, we used to have a Friday lunch ritual of going for a chicken or paneer tikka roll the size of a swaddled baby, but it was scuppered by a mixture of too much pressure at school and a zero hygiene rating at the place. I miss it, though. I'd still have it. I don't
That's
know.
a good story.
Isn't it?
Oh,
I've got a
Lucy.
strong stomach. And when you say a chicken, oh, look at that. A nice paneer tikka roll, size of a swaddled baby. I don't care about the scores on the doors. I'm having it. But that whole, she's right that sort of like, oh yeah, we pop out on Friday lunchtime and do something slightly different. None of us do that now, do we?
No, not now.
We're
No,
all on
no,
duty or
definitely not
whatever
now.
we're
But
doing.
when I worked in industry, we'd always go to the pub Friday lunchtime. And when I worked my first industry job, my first graduate industry job, not undergraduate industry job, we went to the pub at lunchtime, and we often didn't go back. We were supposed to finish work at 3:30. We could finish at 3:30 if we wanted to. Most people didn't finish at 3:30, but if you did, you had flexi hours. So you could start at like 7:30 and finish at 3:30, or you could start at 8:30 and finish at 4:30. You could start at 9:30 and finish at 5:30. That sort of thing. But that was people didn't really stick to those. The rigidity of that. Some people did a bit more. The blue collar crew, I suppose, stuck to it more rigidly than us white collar crew. But Fridays, even if we hadn't worked up extra hours in sort of flexi time, we would often go to the pub and stay there and not go back to work. And that was but that was in the 90s. It was different in the 90s.
Well, it was
Things have
acceptable in the
changed.
80s, and it was, I don't know if it was acceptable. In the 90s, we were still doing it, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly. But no, but that's that. Yeah, no, we're very uptight about that stuff in the education profession, particularly. Someone asked me the other day, are you allowed a child like a 13-year-old child asked me, are you allowed to drink wine at work? And I go, well, no, not really. That's would be frowned upon a little bit if I had a glass of wine at the front of my front desk instead of a cup of coffee. But it said no at lunchtime. Could you have a glass of wine at lunchtime if you wanted to? And I said, well, I think I probably could, but again, I don't think it's just sort of culturally not done. As you go to, I don't know about French schools, but French offices and French, that's quite normal for them to have a glass of wine with their lunch. And I don't have a problem with that at all.
No, I don't have a problem with it at all. But if I imagine one of my colleagues at the school I work at having a glass of wine with their sandwich as they put their knees on the,
you might think they've got a problem, mightn't you? You might think they've got.
Would come and say, they're saying, Mr. Finch, I don't really know this is a safeguarding problem, and I didn't know quite where I could record it, but I just needed you to know that I saw this perfectly respectable person having quite a nice glass of Sauvignon Blanc along with their tuna mayonnaise sandwich. I wouldn't know what to do with it either. I'd be like, thank you for informing me. It's important that you tell me about any concerns you have, however small. And then they'd go out and I think, well, I don't know what to do with that. I'm going to ignore that and hope it never happens again because I ain't got a space on a form for it.
No, exactly. But it's culturally quite an interesting one. We're not good casual drinkers in this country, are we? We're famously binge drinkers, whether it's tea.
Someone having a drink, you imagine they're taking it seriously, is what you're saying. Not some fly-by-night half a glass of wine and back to the office. No. If we're going to drink, we'll do it properly. We'll be necking it. Come on.
Exactly. We'll be having a Crediton High Street pub crawl.
Like Douglas was saying, I have to say, sorry about this, listeners. Douglas was saying, are we going to do that next year? I'm like, mate, it's quite a long way off. Toby might have better offers. Oh, I think it was really good. We should definitely do that again. I'm like, you've changed your tune. At the time,
he might have a bunch of people he wants to do with. I'm up for doing it, whether it's done on New Year's Eve. I'm up for doing it again before the year is out. Definitely.
Yeah, we had fun.
It was good. So should we do the news and then come back and talk a bit more about things
hobbies and pastimes and things that get us through our lives? Definitely, I've got lots to say on that one. Come on.
Cool. All right. We've only got 5 minutes, so here you go, everybody. News, adverts, etc. Stay with us. Back in 5.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, a leading publisher of books, directories, educational guides and magazines specifically aimed at forward-thinking schools in the UK and beyond. Have you checked out their latest releases? Don't miss out! Visit johncattbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles and advance your own professional development today. Happy reading!
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
A report on the BBC website focuses on Ofsted's response to recent criticisms following the death of Ruth Perry. Ms Perry died while waiting for a report which downgraded her school. Ruth Perry's sister, Professor Julia Waters, wanted a full review to take place, but Ofsted has announced only some changes. Chief Inspector Amanda Spielman said the organisation would continue to listen to try to make improvements. She outlined the changes in a statement, and they include looking at how inspectors can return more quickly to schools who have work to do on safeguarding, otherwise performing well, in order to reflect improvements in their judgments. Making the complaints process more responsive, which would see issues being addressed during inspection rather than afterwards, and holding briefings for head teachers where schools have not been inspected for a long time. In response, Professor Waters said the inspectorate was totally insensitive to the situation and was far from anything like a meaningful response to growing calls for reform. Education Secretary Gillian Keegan said standards on keeping children safe would not be watered down. The TES reports on concerns over school absence rates and the impact it could have on upcoming GCSE exams. Fears have been raised over the exam regulator's plan to return grade standards to pre-pandemic levels for the 2023 summer series, when a TES analysis reveals that absence is still 70% higher than before the COVID lockdowns. Year 11 students have missed 10.7% of sessions, equivalent of half a day at school, during the autumn and spring terms, according to DFE figures and FFT Data Lab information. The absence rate amongst disadvantaged Year 11 students is more than double that of their non-disadvantaged peers. Former Schools Minister and Chair of the Commons Education Select Committee, Robin Walker, said the findings were of a grave concern. Exam regulator Ofqual has promised some protection against any impact of COVID disruption to learning, but has not shared details. Despite a government drive on attendance, the objective to return attendance to normal pre-pandemic levels has not been met. School leaders and MAT CEOs have expressed concern at the lack of consideration being given to high absence rates. They also acknowledged that many had not anticipated the difficulties currently being faced. The Guardian featured an article on vaping and the concerns many have over the potential future impact on young people. With many schools acknowledging the difficulties they experience in dealing with vaping amongst children and young people, and research suggesting that pupils as young as 9 are admitting to vaping at least once, the article focuses on the downsides to what was initially presented as a more healthy alternative to smoking. The rise of the fruity vape flavours with enticing names such as Blueberry Blast have encouraged young people to believe they are harmless. According to some, they reduce your appetite, making them more enticing to some users. What isn't often talked about is the addictive element and the fact that many of the products, although not all, contain nicotine. Some youngsters who have never smoked have found themselves addicted to nicotine anyway. A recent study indicates that up to 15% of all 11 to 15-year-olds in the UK are now vaping, and the habit is proving just as difficult to kick as all other addictions, including smoking. Finally, many head teachers have called on Schools Minister Nick Gibb to drop what they describe as a misguided policy, which means schools must open for at least 32.5 hours per week. In a letter to the Minister, leaders of the two main head teachers' unions warn that since guidance on the proposal has not been provided, many have assumed it is not going ahead. The letter requests a minimum of a delay until September 2024. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
Oh, that's it. We're back in the room. There was no jingle at the end. Nothing to warn us. Hello, Ed.
No tech tips. None of that.
No tech tips today. No. Although, yes. Can I pick up on the vaping issue as a parent of three? One post-teenager, Ollie, who's 20, and Steve's not on. He will be back. Thanks, Tom's told us that. Yes, so we've missed Steve today. Hello, Tom, as well, by the way. Welcome to our rambling show. We've missed it, and we're very happy to be back. Anyway, vaping. Yeah, so Ollie's addicted to vaping. He's addicted to nicotine, I should say. He's not addicted to vaping. And he was, but I just want something that I think's incorrect about the stereotype news item on vaping. I don't think the blueberry stuff. I don't think young children think these things are harmless. I think they know, particularly if they've got nicotine in them. Sorry.
Yeah, they're exciting and they're going. I don't know if they say always.
They're exciting, and this peer group. It's classic. It's classic teenage. No risk evaluation. It peer belonging. If your mates are vaping or your mates, to fit in with a certain crowd, that's what's going to happen.
Do you remember the huge fuss about Alco Pops? Do you remember that?
Yes.
When Alco came out. And it's like, oh, young people are drinking these because they think it's just a harmless lemonade.
No, that's not true. Exactly. They know it's got alcohol in it. And they know it's not good for them. But they know it's not going to affect them because that's what you think when you're young.
That's right, because they're bulletproof. Well, I was bulletproof for a bit, but not now.
No, but I think on things that we get addicted to, whether it's nicotine, whether it's caffeine, whether it's alcohol, which is a pretty ugly addiction if you're properly addicted to it. It's probably the ugliest one of the lot, actually, I should think. Or whether it's cocaine or crystal meth or exercise. Some people are obsessively addicted to exercise, and I don't think that's good for them. I think it's weird. Some people, perhaps like me, are addicted to not exercising, and that's probably equally bad. But somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, there's someone who can go for a little jog at the weekend and enjoy it, but doesn't need to tweet about it. Can you imagine such a person?
I'm not sure. I think, that's the thing I noticed by not being on Twitter very much. Twitter is an addiction. It's a
horrible addiction. It is.
It is a horrible addiction. And of course, like all things that we get addicted to, there are many great merits to it. There's red wine's delicious, but if you drink 3 bottles a night,
cool.
And Twitter, but Twitter is an addiction. It's very addictive. And I think when I was pretty addicted to Twitter, you want magic finger became so tedious, I imagine, for most people, but you can ignore it, of course. But yeah, it is they're lovely people who tweet about their jogging and their runs and their 5K this and their 5K that, and
I catch
well
myself
done.
on. It's like if you if I did a beautiful lino cut at the weekend,
you'll tell people.
I do want to go. I mean, part of the gratification of making, and part of it is the time I spend making it and the peace it brings me. Is it's just me and the lino and the cutting edge of my tool and that. But there's also that thing, I'm going to share it, and some people might say nice things about it. I don't think I'd be being dishonest if I didn't say that, because it's fairly rare that I do a piece of creativity of some sort and don't share it on social media one way or another.
Yeah, and that's actually what we do these days, isn't it?
It gets me through. And like, I'm living in a town that I don't know an awful lot of people here, so there's no great harm in it. I'll tell you something. So we're going to talk. So things we do in a week. So I fairly recently, about this, and I must have mentioned it a couple of times, I think. But I've started this thing called the Crediton Strummers, and every Tuesday. I rush home from work on a Tuesday. It's SLT meeting, but I stop it on the button. I say 5:20 is the limit. As late as we're going, jump in the car, drive home, cook the quickest tea I know, and I'm out. I'm singing and playing guitar with a bunch of people who I now think of as friends. A few weeks ago, there were just some people who turned up to this advert I put out on Facebook. But
that's really nice.
For me. And if I missed that for a week, I think I would be quite bereft, actually. I really look forward to it. And I mean, it's not high quality music making. Nobody must think so. It's just strumming some chords and singing some sort of popular songs that we like.
Well,
to
I
sing.
think the looking forward to something is really important. So that's and I think as teachers, if we're working really, really hard, like flat out in term time,
Mhm.
we have teachers have a very different rhythm to their jobs and their careers to most other jobs, because most other jobs don't get the length holidays that we get, but they kind of stop at 5 o'clock, or they stop at 8 o'clock, but or they stop in 2 in the morning or whatever if it's shift work. But you don't. I mean, unless you're at the high level in some kind of profession, when your shift stops or your office series of meetings stop, you kind of go home, and then you've got the weekend. Now, if you're a CEO or you're really high up the organization, then maybe your weekends are really, really, really stressful as well, or you're a politician or something. But I think they have the weekends, but they have fewer holidays. So they might, Friday night or a Saturday night might be a bigger look forward to thing, and there might be this sort of 5 days on, 2 days off ritual, which it certainly doesn't happen in the early stage of your teaching career, and so I think, but we have these long holidays to look forward to, which is a real. And obviously, I have exceptionally long holidays to look forward to in working in the private sector. So, and that is a really big blessing. But I think it is also a massive negative in the sense that you've often got to go 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8 weeks before you've got that next thing to look forward to, and that's quite dangerous, I think, for our biological rhythms and things. And that's when people get run down and tired and stressed and and so, but having something to look forward to, whether it's a weekly thing, it might just be a weekly pint with someone who you don't work with a friend. It might be a weekly strum session, or it might be a weekly gym session, or it might be a weekly, or whatever it is. And I think that's pretty key to getting us through life. However much we love our jobs, however much we love our work, and however much we're valued in them, I think we all need something to look forward to. And I think if that looking forward to thing is 6 months away or a year away, that's not very healthy. So that I've never understood the annual holiday thing, because I didn't grow up with an annual holiday. I grew up in North Devon. If it was sunny, we went to the beach. If it was rainy, which it was most of the time, we did whatever we did, and we didn't need to go away for holiday because we had lovely countryside on our doorstep, and my parents prioritized money on education rather than money on creature comforts and holidays and stuff. But I think living for your 1 week in the sun in the summer, I think that's personally quite unhealthy. That you've got to try and set up a lifestyle for yourself, ideally work that you enjoy, and that you are valued in.
Yeah.
And a hobby that occurs at least fortnightly, if not weekly, or twice weekly, that you look forward to, that brings your life meaning beyond just the drudgery of getting up, going to work, earning money, coming home, feeding the family, just about, and all that sort of stuff. So I think the looking forward to is really, really key, isn't it? And as people know, for a large chunk of the last few years, I've had a lot of stress and not that much to look forward to. And then we've all had COVID, which has prevented us from doing our normal things, which is sort of a fairly distant memory. All those lockdowns to me now are, it seems like a different life, actually. But I'm really into my life. What I've worked out is I have got an addiction of some kind of cultural collection. So that might be buying books, it might be buying secondhand books, it might be going into a bookshop and not being able to leave without buying a book. But I've kind of curbed that and replaced that with records. So since my 50th birthday, when I treated myself to a turntable, I have bought a lot of vinyl records, secondhand, some of them quite cheap, but some of them not that cheap. And I've bought too many of them. And really, but it brings me pleasure, the buying of them, the looking at them, the playing them quite frequently. It brings me pleasure. But I've kind of almost replaced that now with gigs. I'm absolutely obsessed because I've got a bit more. Well, next year I have a bit more surplus income and so I'm kind of borrowing against next year's earnings already. but you know, I'm just enjoying going to a lot of gigs. I've got lots of festivals lined up. I love live music, and the thrill of, you know, my next live gig, I really look forward to. And I've fallen particularly in love with this new band called the Bug Club, who are, they're just brilliant. You know, it might be because it's just tapped into my mood, and I'm suddenly sort of going to gigs again because Amanda might.
What sort of a thing are they? Because I've seen you talking about them, but I haven't listened to them.
Well, they are. I can't remember whether I heard them first. I think I heard them first on Six Music. Mark Riley champions them. I don't listen to Six Music very often, but I like Mark Riley because he's kind of quirky. You know, Mark and Lard, wasn't it? Was with he was ex-Fall bassist, and so he's played with them a few times, and they're garage pop, I suppose, is how you describe them. But they're more than that. So I went to see them in Exeter for the first time on Good Friday. And met new gig mates there, and they're just a 3-piece from the rock and roll town or village of Caldecott in South Wales in Monmouthshire, and they've been playing together. Well, 2 of them have been playing together since school, but they sort of formed in 2016. They were a 5-piece, but then they sort of went down to a 3-piece, I think, before the pandemic. And they write a lot of songs. They've got a lot of songs. The songcraft is really good. The musicianship is really good. They sort of have wig outs a bit. They've got a couple of rock operas, so it's pretty simple pared down stuff. It's just guitar, bass, and drums. But the bassist, she plays the bass like a guitar because she used to play guitar. She plays it with a plectrum and you know, fingers going up and down the frets a lot. And they're good musicians. They're pretty energetic, and the songs are good and a bit loose and ragged, a bit punky in places. It's just compelling, and a live band playing well is a joyful thing. And because they're a new band playing in small venues, you know, it's sort of 13-14 quid a ticket rather than your 30 quid for your big name in a bigger venue in a provincial town or city. That's what I don't know. It's just been exciting. So I went to see them in Guildford last week, and I drove up to see them in Cambridge last night because I wasn't working this morning, and bit weird, bit obsessive, but because I know that from September I'm going to be working a lot longer hours, longer days, and so I'm just enjoying sort of, you know, the freedom, I suppose.
I mean, it's different for you, and it's different for everybody. But before I was a parent, you know, before me and Diane were parents, we'd be out at a movie or at the theatre or at a gig. I don't know, 3 nights a week, and that was part of our life. We loved it. We loved it, you know. And I mean, we've loved being parents as well, obviously, you know. But it's. I would like to think that there's a time when I might get back towards that.
Well, exactly. I think that's where I'm.
Think about too much, but you're sort of, because of your situation, you do have some of that freedom back, don't you?
I've got that freedom. Yeah, I have half the week. I don't have the kids with me. Well, Ollie's 20, so he's actually back working, you know, himself. And so, you know, he's not at uni anymore. And the girls are flat out revising and stuff, but they you know. I
could imagine someone saying, like, you know, us, because we are middle-aged men, aren't we? Very middle-aged men, and I come saying, well, you know, of course you have to go out to the arts centre and play guitars with a lot of other middle-aged men, because, you know, there was a time 10 years ago you wouldn't have dreamed of it. You were 24/7 caring for some wee shitting beast, weren't you?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
So time, you know, we were so busy being dads, and now we're still dads 24/7, but it's a different sort of a dadding.
It's very different, exactly.
He did a German speaking test today, and I have to say, he did do one GCSE last year, which was the English literature, but that's the official start of exam season, isn't it? He's done his French speaking, now he's done his German speaking. I'm like, that tiny little baby I held in my arms, who was smaller than his own teddy bear, is now taking himself off to school to a German speaking and listening test. I was trying to practice the German speaking listening within the pub last night.
Oh no.
I don't speak any German, so
no.
I don't think I was very convincing. But
No, I
But
think
it's all changed.
exactly.
It's all
It
changed.
changes very quickly. So I'm single, freshly single. I'm going to be earning a bit more money next year, so feeling a bit more flush, and I've just got that freedom. And someone said to me at school that, they said, "God, how long's your midlife crisis going to last, Toby?" And I go, "Well, I'm just. It's not, I don't think it is a midlife crisis. I think I'm just
I think
I've
you
got
had
myself
a fairly
sorted out."
clear. I mean, I'm sorry to be doing this in radio land, but I think your midlife crisis was fairly clearly signalled in a number of ways. But I think you're past it now. Now you're just enjoying going to gigs and buying records. Which, as
Yeah,
long as the money holds up, why not carry on?
exactly. I
I'd
think
love that. I
so.
mean, yeah, I'd love a bit more. If I had a little bit more disposable income, which I don't have, then I think. Well, I mean, there's not an awful lot of gigs in Exeter. I'd be my two of my bandmates in the Crediton Strummers had to miss the session last week because they were driving their children up to see Cannibal Corpse in Bristol. I'm like that. Greater love hath no man than that he drives his teenage son up to Bristol from Exeter to
Yeah.
watch Cannibal Corpse at the Academy. Like. Enjoy
I know.
this. We're not going to go in. We'll sit in a pub opposite.
Well, that's
Yeah,
it.
well-
You can. There's a lot of taxiing. My two eldest drive now, so Anna, I taxi about a fair amount, but we'll do more probably next year because she's, Gemma and Ollie won't be necessarily around to taxi her themselves. So yeah, there's that sort of time. The children do still are. I'm not saying this in a negative way, a significant drain on one's time and resources.
So a couple of weeks ago, it was in the holidays, but a couple of weeks ago, Douglas says, would you take me to this chess competition? I'm like, yeah, I will, definitely. Where is it? He says Seaton. Seaton's quite a drive from here. It's on the coast, sort of by
Yeah.
Sidmouth. So I drive. It's an hour's drive, and then I drop him off, and the people at this. I've taken his 16-year-old child dropping off at this chess club, which is otherwise, other than him, very much retirees. But they welcome so kindly, and beautiful. And they're like, "Why don't you stay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not really a chess player." "Oh, no, it'd be lovely to have you. You will stay, won't you?" I'm like, "You know what? I don't think I will. I'm going to go for a little walk." So I go for a little walk down to the coast, and Seaton, my word. One letter away from Satan, and rightly so. I mean, it's just a hell. The rain's coming down.
Seaton's got the shite on. Sorry, excuse my language. Yeah, it's not a pretty place.
I'm like, shall I go back to the chess club? No. Shall I sit in a pub? I've got to drive back to Crediton, and if I have one pint, I'll want another. No. What should I do? I end up sitting in the car park in Seaton, reading poetry by the light of the dash light. Back thinking, when's this gonna finish? I mean, I couldn't be more proud. There's no way I could be any more proud of my kid wants me to go drive across the county so he can play chess with some old people in a club. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that?
Really good. Exactly. It's rare, isn't it? And to do that for that sort of thing.
When I was 16,
Whereas driving them to a party or driving them to a rugby training session or a football training session is not so rare.
I wouldn't do it. It's just not going to happen.
But Ed, we've got to finish more or less on time today because where I'm broadcasting from, this studio with the posse in and the red light and the microphone, it's about to become my son's bedroom when he gets back from his football and has to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning to go and prune apple trees. So there we are.
It's the time of year to be pruning apple trees, is it? I should think. Is it
the right time? Yeah. You prune in the spring if you want to encourage growth. You prune in the autumn if you want to discourage growth. Apparently, that's right. So it's encouraging them to grow in the right shape, make picking easy, isn't it? I think.
But it doesn't impact on the nesting birds, then.
I don't think that many birds are nesting in these commercial apple orchards, to be honest, are they? They might be nesting around the edge of them, but I don't think they're nesting in the apple trees themselves. I don't know though. You're strumming, Ed. I think I've spoken about pretty much everything I wanted to, hobbies wise and rituals wise and habits wise.
There were some comments which I found very amusing.
There were some good comments. We're going to go over by a few minutes. It's fine.
The people who listen back, I don't know if they get the. I
No,
don't
they
know if
won't see the comments. I don't think. No.
I think they do. No, so there's some very nice stuff after our stuff about somebody having a Sauvignon Blanc with a tuna mayonnaise sandwich. The people in the chat had a lovely little chat about that, saying maybe you should report them if they're doing bad pairings. Um,
Yes, a Rioja with a beef sandwich is fine, but Lee Framboise, no, that's got to go.
exactly. No, I mean, a nice Rioja with a roast beef sandwich is fine. Lee Brow Milch with anything is. I remember it being nice at the time.
I
you
think that'd
see.
be instant dismissal from frankly. I'm not sure what you'd do if you saw someone drinking a Jaeger bomb at lunchtime. I think that might be a safeguarding issue.
I managed to mostly avoid the Jaeger bomb. Anyway, I thought that was very amusing. It was one of those quite frequent examples we get of the people in the chat being
Yeah.
more.
Lucy suggested that Jaeger bomb could be used to clear loo blockages, actually.
Probably would do that. And then
Um,
Maxine said, does listening to this radio show constitute a hobby? So I guess if it plays that role for you, but I feel deep sadness. I
No,
think it's
Maxim,
cooking
I'm
for
touched by
lunch.
that. I'm touched by that. I know that Richard Newbold's an enthusiastic listen backer, and that he's missed us, and I know Lucy loves it. It might be a niche, but we're lovely chaps, and we're nice to listen to, and I think there's an awful lot of people missing out, frankly, Ed.
Well, spread the word, mate. Spread the word. I don't know. I think we're a little niche myself, but it's nice that a couple of people join us to listen. And if they do, and if it's any pleasure, then I'll tell you what, it's a diversion for me, as well as my Credence drummers on a Tuesday. I know I'm going to have a chat with Toby on a Wednesday. And frankly, if I wasn't doing it on radio, I might not get around to it. So I'm glad we do.
Yeah, nice. Good. What are you going to play us?
Well, you were hoping to hold it over next week, but I've had no better idea. So thinking about addictions and distractions. Is it we're going to go for Perfect Day? Will you join in the chorus? Will you please?
Yes, I'll look up the words. Yeah.
Such a perfect day. Drank sangria in the park. Then later, when it gets dark, we go home. Just a perfect day. Feed animals in the zoo. Then later a movie too. Then home. Here's the chorus joining in. Everyone is
such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on.
It just keeps me hanging on. Just a perfect day. Problems all left alone. I've lost the key. Weekends on our own. It's such fun. Just a perfect day. You made me forget myself. I thought I was someone else, someone good. You're good, aren't you? Yes.
Yes,
Here we
you're
go.
good.
It's
Such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Oh, such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on.
Is there more of it? Oh no!
I tried to go baritone. Then I'm not. I think I try and sing too high, which is why I'm awful at singing. I think I kind of lose pitch and goes all over the place. Whereas I think if I tried to sing a bit lower, I could hold the note a bit better. I reckon, but I need to practice that.
What did they tell you when you were a child? So always when you get people who think that they can't sing, 9 times out of 10 you talk to them and they say, "Oh, my teacher told me I couldn't sing." And you're like, "Well, why? You never believed the teacher when you told them anything else, you know?"
No. Art as well, drawing and singing are like that, aren't they? It's difficult.
You'll never
difficult one to
amount
crack.
to
Can't
anything.
draw, can't do maths, can't sing. There you go. Those three.
There you go.
Anyway, that's it.
Right.
I would quite like to, in the absence of any better ideas that unfold through the week, next week I'd quite like to build on this sort of hobbies, rituals, things, and build it up to describing our perfect day in school, in work, and a perfect day, maybe a weekend day or a perfect holiday day. I don't know. I think it's quite interesting to talk about. It's a bit indulgent, but
Okay,
what do you
well,
think?
We'll keep it safe for work, but I know we're not at work. We won't. It's
Well, we're the late show. I don't think we need to do highbrow teaching talk at 9 o'clock at night. You know, I think as long as it's linked to, we are teachers. We did talk about schools and teaching earlier on. Actually, we did quite a lot. So, and we've certainly spoken about making coffee all day in schools as well. So, or
would
tea.
a perfect day involve a trip to work? I don't know if I'm allowed. Is it a perfect work day?
Well, I think we should have a perfect work day. What's a perfect day at the coalface look like, or feel like, and what's a perfect day in your day to day, in your private life? Yeah.
So we're doing that next weekend. This weekend. Next week, I shall look forward to it. And until then, ladies and gentlemen of Radioland, it has been wonderful spending this time with you. But it is now time for me to go to sleep. So, love to you all, and night night.
Night night all. Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.